What's up? Okay, so in this video I'm going to be talking about my 900 milligram diphenhydramine experience, which by the way is the highest dose that I've ever taken of diphenhydramine. But before we get into that, let me start off the video by saying that I am a recovering addict. I've got about 5 months of sobriety right now, and YouTube has been an outlet that's helped to keep me clean and sober. So with that being said, here is what happened. So this took place back in like 2014 probably. I was getting into a lot of trouble at the time, doing a lot of drugs, and it was just a darker time for me in general. And I was doing a lot of Benadryl too at this time, so doing Benadryl on a regular basis at this time was nothing new to me. So it was like 10 o'clock at night. I had just gotten off work and I knew that I wanted to get high on Benadryl tonight. So after work I ran over to the CVS, I grabbed me one of those big 400 tablet bottles of Benadryl, and then I head on home. So I got home, and originally I was only going to take 400 milligrams, which is 16 pills, and that's what I did at first. I went ahead and popped 16 of them, and then I just waited. I got on my computer, scrolled through YouTube for a bit, and just waited for that to come up. But after like 30 minutes, I started to feel a little different, but suddenly I wanted to take more. I had to take more, and I'm not sure why, but 400 milligrams just wasn't going to cut it. So I thought to myself, why not take my highest dose yet? Because at the time, before this, my highest dose was 700 milligrams. And that experience was super weird, so I knew if I went past that it would be extremely weird, and I really just wanted to see what it was like. Okay, so this is weird and kind of stupid, but I was scared to take 1,000 milligrams because I felt like that would be the dose that killed me, and so 900 milligrams was perfectly safe and okay. Yeah, I was very ignorant back then. But anyway, I decided on 900 milligrams, so I added 500 more milligrams, which, adding up to a total of 36 pills, by the way, 36 Benadryls. And I was starting to come up on the first wave of pills that I had already took, so if I was tripping hard in another 20 minutes, then it was only going to get better from here. So about 45 minutes after upping the dose, I was already high, of course, on the first wave of pills that I took, and I remember I was sitting there at my computer and I started seeing what looked like smoke coming off the top of my monitor, and my desktop was on the bottom of my desk, and there was smoke creeping all around it and coming off of it, but I knew that it was just the Benadryl doing its thing. And I was starting to feel really weird, and the body load was really intense. Like, I would forget to breathe, and when I realized that, I had to start breathing manually. And I was just feeling very sick and a little out of it, and I was just sitting there staring at different parts of the room, forgetting to breathe, and I looked like this the whole time. I was like, and I just kept repeating that cycle for like 20 minutes until my first hallucination happened. And at first what I remember seeing was like a moth flying around the room. Like I would see it fly through the air for a second and then just disappear. And I would look at the corner of my ceiling, and there was like a bunch of little gnats all gathered in that corner just flying around. And then I would go on to start hearing people talking, and this is where things started to get very weird and it started to take a slight turn. I remember hearing this male voice just talking, just going on about something completely random, and then this other voice would respond, and they were just having this casual conversation. And I remember I was thinking, not saying out loud, I was thinking, hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me? And I immediately got a response. It was weird. I almost remember exactly how it sounded. He was like, yeah, we hear you. What are you doing? And then I started to hear the other voice laughing, and that gave me chills. And I was genuinely creeped out by this now, because it really did feel like I was talking to two invisible people in my room, even though I knew that it was just a Benadryl. And so this time I asked out loud, at least I think I did. It's weird on Benadryl. It's hard to tell when you're talking out loud or not. It's hard to explain, but yeah, it gets like that sometimes. But I asked out loud, are you a ghost? And he responded by like mocking me. He was like, are you a ghost? And I was like, hey man, you don't gotta be mean about it, man. And I didn't hear too much of the voice after that for a little bit. I was still just sitting at my computer, and I would hear the occasional voice talking, but I just kind of ignored it now and just kind of let it happen. So I start browsing through YouTube videos, and I'm sitting there scrolling, trying to find something interesting to watch or listen to while I'm tripping. And then suddenly I heard my friend talking to me, and he asked me a question. And I don't remember exactly what he asked, but I do remember that I responded back very casually, and like this was not weird at all, because at this point I'm completely gone. I'm very much out of it, and I'm not aware that this is a hallucination at all. And when I went to respond, I turned to look at him, and he's there just sitting on my bed, and we had a full-blown conversation for like 5 minutes. And so our conversation ended apparently, and I went back to just sitting there staring at different parts of my room, mouth still wide open, like forgetting to breathe. Just far gone at this point. And I closed my eyes, and the first thing that I remember seeing was my room. Like, it was like my eyes were still open. Like, I could turn my head and everything would be where it's usually at. And I kept doing this a lot throughout the night too. Like, I would open my eyes and then close them again, and I would get completely different hallucinations every time. Like, at one point I was seeing people's faces morphing into different faces over and over again. Some of people that I knew and some of people that I don't recall ever seeing in my life. Another time I was seeing words moving all around, and it was just a series of a bunch of different letters, and I was trying to like make sense of the words, and some of them I could make sense of and some of them were just completely random and I had no idea what it said. So I actually have a clip that I want to show you of almost exactly what it looked like and what I was seeing. Check it out.
Could have been with a honey jar, you know, now if that wasn't a fine tile switch, then I don't know what a four pallet is. I know originally it wasn't going to be a level, it was a snake, and I think they changed how to orient it, to make it, and then fixed it. Back then, you know, it used to be colors. Nowadays, every kid is wanting more time. Appreciate the time. Fucking piece of shit.
So yeah, the clip and the audio in it is very accurate to what I was experiencing in that moment. By the way, the guy who makes those clips has a channel of his own, and he makes a lot of different cool replicas of like Diphenhydramine and DXM. And he has a bunch of other funny videos, so if you want to check him out, please do. Link down below. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and this is like 2 hours in. The 900 milligrams has almost taken its full-on effect at this point. And I remember I was so thirsty. I hadn't drank anything that entire time, and my mouth was so dry, but I was like kind of scared, honestly, to go grab a drink. Because it was very dark in my house, and I was on a lot of Benadryl, and if you've taken Benadryl, you know that the dark is where the hallucinations happen. But I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to get something to drink, and I had to pee really bad too. So I stood up, and this would be my first time in like 2 hours standing up, and I felt really heavy, like I was being weighed down, and that made walking like incredibly hard to do. But I did manage to get myself to the restroom first, and I go in the restroom, turn the light on, and I see myself in the mirror. And I didn't even recognize myself at first. Like, my initial thought going into the restroom was, who is this person and why the hell is he in my bathroom? But also, like, I wasn't freaking out because I was very delirious, and it was almost kind of normal, but like, why the hell is he in here still? And I started to walk closer to my reflection, and of course it hit me that it was my reflection, and that set me off. Like, I was laughing so hard at myself to the point where my stomach was hurting of laughter. Benadryl does give you the giggles sometimes, and that's like the only good thing sometimes. But anyway, I turned the bathroom fan on because it was just too quiet and I just needed some kind of sound while I was pissing. And it was so weird, like through the sound of the fan, I could like start to hear rock music playing. And it was so weird while I'm standing there, I was like making up this guitar riff with my mind as it was going along. Like I was creating a guitar riff with my mind as it was happening from the fan, from the noise of the fan. Fucking weird. And I go to flush the toilet and the sounds of that alone were just intense. I could hear every bit of that water going down the toilet. So anyways, as I'm walking through my house, I'm turning on every single light in my path because I was not having any darkness. Like, I was already paranoid enough and hearing voices and whatnot. So yeah, fuck that. But I did eventually make it to the kitchen, grab myself a bottle of water, and then I heard a knock. And as soon as I heard that knock, like, my body tensed up and I froze because just around the corner of the kitchen, there were like a bunch of windows and my back door. But I also couldn't tell if it was an auditory hallucination, so I stood there waiting to see if I heard another knock, and I stood there for like a good 5 minutes, and I didn't hear anything. And I was so paranoid, like I was peeking around the corner, trying to see if I could see anybody outside, and I didn't see anybody. And then the more I thought about the way that the knock sounded, the more I was convinced that it was just a hallucination after all. And I calmed down some after that, but I wanted to go smoke a cigarette, and I don't know how I had the balls to do it, but I went out back and I lit one up. And I had heard about like a hooded figure that you could see, or a trench coat guy on DPH. And as I'm out there smoking my cigarette, of course that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And now I can't get it off my mind. Like, I'm already seeing shadow people and shit. Like, I'm not trying to see a whole trench coat guy or hooded figure. But no, of course that was exactly what was on my mind. So I'm sitting there trying to smoke the cigarette really fast, just trying to go back inside. And of course, go figure, I start to see this hooded figure like start creeping out the side of my house, just staring at me. and I was staring right back at it, scared as fuck at this point as it's slowly creeping out further and further and further. I said, fuck this, dropped my cigarette, ran inside the house, locked the doors, went to my room, locked myself in my room, and I was in full panic mode at this point. I tried to lay down in my bed and tried to calm down, tried to breathe, and just kept reminding myself that I was on a lot of Benadryl and that it was a hallucination, which it was, 100%, 99%, really hope so. So I eventually do calm down. I'm laying on my bed just trying to chill out and breathe, and I had some like music in the background that was turned down kind of low, just some kind of noise. And I'm looking at my TV, which is turned off by the way, and I'm staring at my TV, and that smoke that I was seeing earlier, I was seeing it all over my TV screen, and it started forming itself all together, and it started making things like people in the background. Next thing I know, I'm watching TV for like 20 minutes, and remember, the TV is off, and this Benadryl created TV show had commercial breaks and everything, and I could hear it, I was watching it, and I was staring at my TV while it's turned off, probably looking like an insane person. And eventually I just kept fading in and out, watching this TV and listening to the music and hearing voices all around, seeing shadow people all over the fucking place. And then about 5 hours in, I started coming down, and I was really tired. And I was laying down, and I was trying to sleep, but that was impossible. Sleeping was really hard when my closed eye visual was just going crazy. Like, I was seeing myself scroll through Facebook or YouTube, and if I was able to make the words out, like on a status or a YouTube title, it would be some nonsense shit like chopped onions in the tiger cage. It's like some really mad weird shit. But I did finally fall asleep eventually, probably the next day, and feeling like shit as usual, and knowing damn well that I was never ever going to take that much Benadryl ever again. But anyways, that's my 900 milligram story, and it was scary, it was weird, I was very confused, very delirious, very much out of it, and yeah, it's just, that's one of the main reasons I stopped doing Benadryl, because that shit really fucked up my mind. But guys, if you made it this far, it seriously means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. If you could do me a favor and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed the story, a comment telling me about your experiences, what you thought about this experience, or just tell me what's on your mind. Also, subscribe to the channel if you like this story and want to hear more of these kinds of stories. I'm getting them out pretty consistent right now, and hopefully, eventually I'll be able to do more than just stories. Also, one more thing, if you're struggling with addiction yourself and you just want somebody to talk to or somebody to relate with, please feel free to add me on Discord. I'll have my information down in the description, and you can just hit me up anytime and I'll be down to talk whenever you want. Because I know how it is, and I know how addiction is, and sometimes it really can help just to have somebody to talk to or relate with. But anyways, thank you guys so much again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.